Afternoon, Jay Peck is going to take over again, and so welcome Jay back. He's doing all the scheduling and all that with our staff and keeping everything enrolling here. So welcome Jay, and then our speaker.
Thank you, everyone. Later this afternoon, we're going to go around and make sure that you have your name tags on. The reason why is it's easier to talk to somebody that you know their name or you can see their name. Not that we're worried about people coming in, but please have them on sometime this afternoon because we will be coming by and checking. Okay? Today I have the privilege of introducing Patricia Rochelle Diegal. She has a PhD in psychology. She's written the book Reincarnation in You, The Cosmic Mandate, and you can get this book from her. She has developed a thing called Trinity Power. Now, Trinity Power is a process. This process helps you develop your creativity, unlock your past lives, and develop your psychic ability. So she's been working now for 29 years in this field. She's teaching and consulting down in Sedona. She'll have a workshop on Monday, which will go into this process a little bit more in depth. I welcome Patricia Diegal.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're going to try out the microphones. Oh, we got to turn it on, of course. It says talk. All right. Can you hear me? No? Can you hear me? I'll project my voice to the back of the room, but it'd be nicer if I had a microphone. Is this one the one that we handhold? Now can you hear me? Okay. Is it recording now? Okay. It's great to see so many friendly faces here and so many people that I've known over the years and all of you brand new people. I sort of brought something different to this conference than I usually do. Dean and Phyllis picked me up at the UFO conference last September in Phoenix, Arizona, where I was making my first appearance at a UFO conference because I was sort of working over in the field of psychologists and trying to stay somewhat professional, so I know where Norma's also coming from. But I did come out of the closet some 29 years ago and started doing past life readings a la Edgar Cayce. Would you believe it? Las Vegas, Nevada, at an ARE meeting. And a friend of mine talked me into going with her, and I said, I don't really want to go to meetings. I did this hypnosis thing years ago when I was in college. My professor said it was my imagination when I went back into a past life, and I don't want to play. She said, well, just go with me. So I went with her, and Dr. William Clark, a chiropractor, challenged me, and he said, don't you trust me? And I looked him in the eyes and I said, yes. He said, then let me put you under and show these people what Edgar Cayce was all about. And I've been doing it ever since. So 47,000 plus past life readings later, I have picked up knowledge not only from my own past lives and my own future lives, but out of the heads of 47,000 people. So I have quite a bit in my computer. And a lady the other day in Durango asked me how I knew so much, and I said, because I've got 47,000 plus people inside my head. All of their past lives, their present life, and all of their potential future lives. But what it is mostly is putting it together into a form that people can understand. So going back 29 years ago, having moved out of Las Vegas and gotten off of what we call the fast track, I moved to Los Angeles, found a teacher there who taught me how to channel. Now I know the word channeling has sort of gotten a strange name among a lot of people because the channels don't always agree with each other. And we've even had channels in Sedona that had 7 entities come through them in one evening and they disagreed with each other. And so we sort of quieted that name down, but really in a sense, all of these things, whether it's reading billets or it's doing transmissions or it is verbal channeling. All of these things are a part of our spiritual growth. And so I decided that since I had been taught how to channel and to bring through some of the hierarchy, some of the higher level beings, that maybe part of my mission was to teach other people how to do that. So with the teacher that I first started with, she suggested that I bring one other person with me and the three of us sit in a Trinity. So we started doing that, and for 2.5 years, every Friday, I channeled various beings and various knowledge, and a great deal of information came through, including what we call the basic formula for teaching people how to unlock the doors of their higher awareness. After 2.5 years, I went one Friday, and out of my mouth came the phrase, "It's graduation day. You have learned everything here that you need to learn, and now you must go elsewhere to get further information." And so for the next 26.5 years, that's what I've been doing. Giving readings, getting my information from the various people who are my clients and my students, and also having a library of about 10,000 volumes of New Age books and psychological books and healing books, and coming to some of the conferences, first of all as an observer, and now as one of the speakers. Working with all of these things, I was given, and I'm going to say, the opportunity to go to Honolulu, Hawaii, to go to a New Age conference. And when we stepped off the plane, my husband said, "This is home." So after the conference was over, and I had done 99 readings in the 7 weeks we were there, we went back to Sacramento, picked up everything we owned, and moved to Honolulu for 5 years, opened up a center, and proceeded to train people how to channel, how to develop their psychic abilities, how to turn on more creativity by unlocking the doors to their past lives. Now, the benefit of this is that if you have been a painter in another incarnation, and your mother tells you in this lifetime you can't draw a straight line with a ruler, and then your teachers tell you the same thing, you begin to believe it. But the minute you unlock the door to that past life when you have been the artist, you can find out that without any training, that you can start to take up where you left off in that other lifetime, because your soul was in that other suit of clothes as well as in this suit of clothes that's sitting in front of me now. And this goes for music, goes for writing, and any number of other of the creative arts. We have a young man who was a painter, and I told him in his reading that he could, in a past life, sculpt beautifully. So he went and got the clay and borrowed a statue of Buddha from a friend and made an exact duplicate of it, except that his looks better than the original, because the original was over, guess what, 1,000 years old, and it was sort of chipped a little here and there. But he made this duplicate of it, and it's still in his meditation room. But you know what he said to me afterwards? "Well, now I know I can do it. I never have to do that again." So back to his painting. And he has developed 4 or 5 different styles of painting during this lifetime, not just the ones he'd had in other incarnations. We have a lot of people that I've read for who are artists today, because in their reading I told them that's what they should be doing. But you know, it puts sort of a heavy weight on me when I tell somebody you really should be painting instead of designing coffee pots for General Electric. But she quit her job with GE, you know, and I was going like this. And today she's turned out some 3,000 paintings and has sold all of them except the 2 she wanted to keep, and I happen to have one also, just to prove that I was right. Now, looking at it from that standpoint, and I began to find out that I really wanted to write some books, and I really wanted to reach new people. And I said, I can't keep giving readings for everybody that comes. I was doing 9 a day at one point in time, and then my readings got longer and longer, and now In Sedona, they're 2.5 hours long, besides 2 one-hour pre-recorded tapes that I give people, because my readings grew to be 5 hours long, and I had to do something. So the education part is now on tape. But the interesting thing about it was I said there's got to be a way I can train people to do it. So working with that and starting in Honolulu, putting people into Trinities, as my original teacher had taught me to do for my channeling, we began to find out that other people could also unlock the doors not only to their own past lives, but eventually with further training could help other people unlock the doors to their past lives. I have probably to date trained several thousand, probably over 10,000 people to sit in Trinities all over the United States. I get reports from time to time about the miracles that they have found out about themselves in past lives. Also, as this developed, we found out that there was a way of unlocking a door to future lives. And with something that channeled through me in 1974 in Honolulu on February 9th, which happened to be my birthday, and I'd been channeling for a group of people, usually at average between 35 and 60. On that particular day, which was my 50th birthday, I had a room full of exactly 50 witnesses. We channeled through 3 hours on tape, and we were in the room from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. We stopped the clock. And it's nice to have 50 witnesses when something like that happens. But what came through was the information that I would be developing something from a future life of mine called the blueprint, or the cosmic mandate, a blueprint for immortality. You have a piece of it on the board here. We now probably have over 200 charts that also follow this same formula. And because I came from a scientific family, I've always wanted to be able to prove what has come through me. And when I read for someone who's had a famous past life, I tell them to please go check it out. And I always get a particular kind of buzz if it's something they're going to find in the encyclopedia or somewhere in a book. And we've had hundreds of stories of people who've written and given me confirmation. Even finding a book that's been out of print for 40 years or 60 years, or one man even 150 years, a book had been out of print, but he found a book about himself. Now, looking at it from a scientific standpoint, what we do, and what we'll be doing in the workshop on Monday, is taking people through these processes, not at an in-depth level like we do with our 2.5-day seminar, but giving them a manual and how to do it so that they will be able to take it home with them, find 2 new people, and show them how to do it. And then those 2 people can go find 2 people each. And I was told that starting in 1990, if I reintroduced the Trinity Power method to people at public conferences, that we would have 1 million people around the world by 1992 that could sit in Trinities, being able to discover their past lives, be able to create the future of this life and their own future lifetimes, or I might say discover their future lifetimes, because there is no such thing as time in the 4th dimension, and it already exists. But if you don't like the way it's going to be, you can rearrange it somewhat. You do have a little bit of what I call literary license to rewrite the script if you don't like what it was you were going to do. But it's from right now that you can do that. Also to enhance your creativity at all levels and to develop more of your psychic ability. Now, I'm sure that you've heard the word synergy. Synergy has to do with the merging of minds. So the intent of putting this together came from a basic chart that I channeled through also in 1974, which was taking astrology off of the wheel and putting astrology and numerology together so that they match. And they didn't before. And just think about this. To take astrology off the wheel, I had to also expand its potential. And what we found out is, although ordinary astrology says Aries is number 1, it doesn't match number 1 in numerology. So we came up with the fact that in this first square in our basic chart was Taurus, and that this is a physical square. That means that's where you start, right with this physical body or the suit of clothes you happen to be wearing in this incarnation. Then we moved to Cancer was number 2. Leo was number 3. And as we move forward, we also finished our entire chart, which we will be giving out in the workshop on Monday. And later, from my scientific investigation, I took a look at that, went back to my anthropology and my studies of religion, and found out that we had put them in the order in which man discovered the planets and worshiped them. So it was anthropologically correct and religiously correct. And we put Mother Earth, or Terra, ruling Taurus, although we know in mundane astrology it's co-ruled by Venus. But the thing that was interesting about that is that same year, 1974, Jess Stern came out with a book in which he said the New Age astrologers are putting Earth, or Terra, ruling Taurus. And I thought, phew, we got that one right. And as we moved up to number 9, which is Virgo, and it's one of those that's in its right place because it's a number 9, not only as the month, but also on the astrology wheel and also in our blueprint. And I put the asteroid belt there. Now, the asteroid belt was a planet called Phaeton, Phaeton, which blew itself up eons ago when it was the 3rd planet out from the sun. I also found out on the day I channeled that through that the astrophysicists and the astronomers were meeting at Jet Propulsion Labs, and they came through with an official declaration after 400 years of naming the asteroid belt as a planet called Phaeton, of making it official. So I don't know if I was reading their minds from Honolulu over to Pasadena, or they were reading mine, but it doesn't matter because it's right. Think about the asteroid belt as a place where there are some people on this planet had their origin. In other words, they came from there. And I have read for some of those people who are Phaetons. And without exception, they have fractured personalities, split personalities, live more than one life at the same time in the same body. And of course, we have our prime person from there, and I think his name is Superman, and he's 51 years old today. At least that's what they said in the newspapers. So that goes back to 1939. Now think about it also as Phaeton is symbolically your past lives that you have lost track of because our religions and our society did not listen to children's dreams, except maybe the Sonoy people in the South Pacific and some of the others that didn't lose that ability to identify their dreams, so they forgot their past lives too. So let's say we're going to put our fractured personalities back together with using number 9 as the place of total synergy or merging. It's easier to do it if you have 2 other people working with you. So I'm going to show you how this chart works, and I'm going to be mentioning to you some things that are really important to know. In the beginning, this planet was fire, right? It was thrown off from the sun and it was a ball of fire. So we put the fire signs here at the bottom. 3 people meeting together like a trident, that's Neptune's or Poseidon's trident, making an agreement to work together sitting in a trinity. The one with the back to the north is a mental chair. The one on their right is a physical chair, and the one on their left is the emotional or the catalyst chair. These people sitting together, tuning in to colors, sometimes sounds. They can chant, they can om, whatever it is they choose to begin to get them to merge together. Then when they have formed what we call a Leo Trinity, they can move into Sagittarius and they become one. So the little triangles now have moved inside of the large triangle, and the three of them together are of one mind. And as soon as they can do that, so if the one who's in the mental chair says, I see us now sitting on top of Pikes Peak in Colorado, the other two who've never been there in this or any other lifetime can see what it looks like from the top of Pikes Peak looking down over the valleys. And they can report exactly the same thing as the one who has either been there in this or some other lifetime. And I'm using that because we're in Colorado right now, of course. When we're in some other town, I use whatever their mountain is. But take a look at it as all of them seeing the same thing. Now, if you can do that so everybody sees it the same way, not like the five men the five blind men checking out an elephant, all describing him as different. I'm sure you've heard that story. One describes the tail, and one the trunk, and the other's the legs, and one the body. What we have here is people actually seeing the same things. Then they have merged. Then they move up to number 9. And this is where they make the contact with their high selves. Their high selves then connecting to them the same as you do through meditation. Begin to pull through more important information, more synergy, more energy. And instead of us being 100, 100, and 100%, which is 300%, we begin to cube our energy and we become 900% effective. These three people working together can play with a Ouija board safely and not get negative entities in giving them funny information or negative spirits. They can work together as one unit, seeing the same things, describing something, whether it's happening at a distance or right in the next room. We have, on occasion in Los Angeles, using our trinities, found lost people. We've also been able to help certain official groups, and I have people still working down there, although I don't live there anymore, in the LA area, working with the FBI and some of the other organizations in certain cases. And we found that the trinities can get the information quicker, more accurately, and have proved over and over and over again that it works. So if it works for the present life of happenings, then I move them into something that they have to do, which is moving them out of the Virgo energy where they become 900% effective into what we call the present life of each individual. And we have 3 or 4 processes that we use here. Some of them are out of my background in psychology, and some of them are ones that we created after we got into this field. But each of these people is complete within themselves in the present life, with 2 other people being able to see things in their childhood that maybe they need some corrections, false ideas or negative experiences. But instead of intensifying the negativity by these people being in hypnosis, they are still wide awake. They are not in a trance state. They can keep their eyes closed or they can open them and still see the pictures in the head that all 3 of them are getting. So we have a lady over here who says she has a problem, and the other 2 go back to her childhood and find the original cause. And they describe what her mother looked like, what her brother looked like, and they knew nothing about her family at all. And yet they can see it in her head because they've already practiced enough together to be able to do that. Once they do what we call the present life clearing, which is our Taurus, ruled by Mother Earth, which is our number 1, now you can really get started to do the game. When we started the Trinity Power work, we called it teaching principles, patterns, which is what the blueprint is about, and processes. Principles are things that everything works with. Now we're talking about the main principle or the main law, which I call the law of evolution. I do not believe in the transmigration of souls that you, if you do something terrible, are going to come back next time as a pig. However, you may come back as a pig of a person. So the untouchable thing I believe in India was if you'd been a Brahmin and then you goofed, then you came back next time at the bottom as an untouchable again and had to work your way back up, and you slept with the pigs because that's where the untouchables slept. So working with the principles of evolution, you can speed up your evolutionary process by clearing up, by getting the solutions, not intensifying the problem like they do in certain psychotherapy, where they make you scream and yell and pound on the wall or pound on the pillow and relive the trauma. This is why years ago I got out of the hypnosis thing and started doing the readings for the person and giving them solutions to the problems instead of intensifying the problem. And once they have an understanding of how to get over it, unless they're stupid, they don't keep it. So we're moving people through this clearing process. Then we move them to the fun part, and this is what they always want to do. Now, the first time I ever did a large group with this was at the Miramar Hotel in Santa Monica, California, and I was asked to demonstrate that this Trinity process would work for everybody. Well, we didn't have time to take them through all of those processes. So I took the students who already knew how to do it, we scattered them through the audience, kept a few of our teachers on the outside around it. We had 700 people in the ballroom, sitting in Trinities. And I sent this part of the room back to Egypt, I sent this part back to Atlantis, and that part there back to Greece. And somebody said, well, how do you know we were there? And I said, well, if you were not there, you're acting as a surrogate for somebody who was, and it's somebody you know. But everybody in the room was able, just because of the energy of the entire room, to move into a past life that the three of them, or the person they were surrogating for, had actually lived together, and all three of them saw the same pictures and told the same story. And it was exciting to have that many people be able to do it the first night. Now, when we finished with that, then and by the way, it's been televised. We still have the television tape. And, videotaped. Anyway, so what we were looking at then is we could move people into this past life thing immediately. But if you're going into it at a serious business and want to learn all the processes, you need to do this in the smaller groups a step at a time. But this is the glamour over here, is number 8, which is Capricorn, which by the way, in my blueprint, is where in the levels of consciousness your Akashic records dwell. Edgar Cayce talked about going out and reading this large book of people's Akashic records, and of course he did his readings in trance. I don't see a book. I'm still looking for it, but I haven't found it. But what it is, I see the pictures inside the person's head of their past lives, and I report to them what it is I see. Now somebody asked, where do they come from? My answer is they come from their high self. In other words, it's their pictures and it's their high self sending into my brain the picture so I will know who they were, what they did, what they accomplished, so they can recover all those talents, knowledge, and abilities they've had before into the present life. Then we move up. And this is the other fun thing we're going to do Monday morning, is we take people into what we call the etheric diamond. This is a Libra energy, or Libra, some people prefer to call it, and we have 4 people. 3 people acting as a trinity, working together to send energy, and you've heard a lot about energy this week, and these 3 people sending the energy to the person who needs the energy. Now, instead of calling it a healing diamond, I really prefer to call it a balancing diamond. Because if we say that we get people into balance so they heal themselves, the AMA will leave us alone. Okay? So these 3 people sending color and energy to this person, we have had miraculous healings or balancings. And it's been fantastic. And what we do is we make everybody move around so they all have a chance at the hot seat to get the healing or the balancing. Then we put them into the second fun thing. This is called a manifesting square. And we have 2 people sitting across from each other, and then 2 of you side by side. Those 4 people then picture individually what it is that they would like to have. And we always start out with something you can hold in your hands. In other words, we don't go for big cars or new houses to begin with. That comes later. What we start you out with is something small you can hold in your hands. And we have had so many miracles with this, it's unbelievable. But these 4 people then picture what they want, then they tell the other 3 members of their group what it is they want, then all 4 of them picture that person with it. And the minute they feel the energy moving, they say, "It is so." Then we move to the next person, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And then they thank the source for bringing them what it is they need at the time. Not what you want, and you don't always get it right away. It's when you need it that it comes. We had a group in New York that we went through these 2 processes, and when we got to the manifesting one, I had 12 people, and there was 4 down there, 4 up here, and 4 in the middle. And one of the ladies over there said she needed an answer phone. One of the gentlemen over here wanted a particular kind of very expensive pen. So when we got all through and the people asked for what they wanted, one of the men over here said when he heard she wanted that particular kind of answer phone, she even named the brand and what size she wanted in the ear. He said, "Somebody has given me 2 of those. If you'll call me tomorrow, I will deliver it to your house." And then the one over here who wanted the pen said what kind he wanted, and a gal over here in the middle opened up her purse and walked over and handed him one. She said, "I was just given 3 of these for my birthday." Now that was pretty fast manifesting. I haven't seen it always work that fast. But my favorite story is this one because it was personal. We had a large group of people doing this in Los Angeles in our center, and we had a dirty brown carpet on the center, and we tried to shampoo it and get it clean, but it still looked dirty brown. And I said, I'd really rather have a nice asphalt tile floor. Well, we had taken over this huge center. We had several rooms in there, and I got to do what I'd always wanted to do, and that was to paint a center with a different color in each room. And it was a little far out for some of the people around, but I was the boss, so I got my way. My office was turquoise, and that was the Shambhala room, by the way. The Mounted Olympus room was violet. The Chinese room, which was the Kuan Yin room, was coral walls with black chairs and jade green bookcases. And the Hawaiian room, which of course is the Madame Paley room. We had a whole beautiful mural of Hawaii because when I moved from Hawaii back to LA, I got homesick for Hawaii every now and then. So here was this beautiful oceanscape, and we had gold chairs in there, and everything that we collected in Hawaii was in that room on the bookcases. And the main room was gold. And when we got all through, I said, do you know, it would really, oh, I've got to tell you the best part. The ladies' room was 3 shades of pink, and the men's room was saffron orange. And the man who had had the center before us dug out a picture of the 1812 ball in New Orleans, and 3 of the ladies in that picture had on the 3 shades of pink that we'd painted the ladies' room, so it hung up in there. When we went into the little boys' room with the saffron orange, there were no windows in there, and when you walked in, you lost the corners, and they said it made them a little dizzy. But it was too late, I'd already had it painted that color. But anyway, I said I'd really like to find some asphalt tile that would go all the way through this building, and I would like it not to cost too much. You know, you have to do that. So we had everybody in the room, and there was over 60 of us, picturing that kind of a floor. My husband and I went down to Torrance and down on Crenshaw Boulevard, and we finally found a piece of tile, the vinyl tile, with all of the colors of our rainbow colored center. So we brought it back, and the bid on it was only $2,600, and we'd have to do the labor. But I figured, well, we're going to raise the money somehow. So I showed it to the man who'd had the center before us, and he's the one who had the picture of the ladies, the 1812 ball. And he went over into the corner, pulled back the carpet, and underneath it, instead of 12-inch vinyl tiles, was 9-inch asphalt tiles with exactly the same colors in it. So we ripped up the whole carpet, took it up, and for $150 for shampooing the floor and waxing it, we had our center exactly the way we wanted it, with exactly the right colors. Now that's a miracle, and that's my story. So I tell you, it really works. Now, moving to the next one. We are now moving into what we call the master numbers, and the 22 happens to be Aquarius. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that's the best sign, because I are one. Okay. Now, this is emotional mastery. This is being able to control your own emotions, your own life, and make things come out right. It is also the square where we teach people how to channel to a group. Now you will notice we have an inverted pyramid here. The 2 people sitting on the ends of a large group, which is you over there and you over here, are what we call our batteries. And back there, at the very back of the room, who I cannot see, and there may be a couple of you, is our grounder. That's the person who keeps the channel from going too far out. We can take a huge room of people and channel and never get spacey. And you can have the people sitting in a square. You can put them in a circle around this entire group, as long as you have the 4 energies going there. And that keeps us in balance. You know that 2 and 2 is 4, and that's why we use the 4 for proper channeling. There's got to be people who also have the energy to keep the channel in this space and not take off and go off to Arcturus and never come back, which some people have tried to do. Now, once you have learned to work as a channel properly, then the information you bring through is always for the group who is listening, and occasionally for people who buy the tapes, who they walk up to a place and it says this is a channeling by so-and-so, and their fingers will tingle or they'll get chills, and they know they have to buy that tape because there's a message for them on it too. Then the next one we do probably is my most fun, because that's what I did on my 50th birthday, is going into a future life and taking a whole group of people with you and seeing what it's going to look like on this planet. And because we've done this with so many people, ladies and gentlemen, we know this planet is still going to be here in good shape past the year 5000 AD. And in spite of some of the maps that have come out showing that Sedona is underwater, I know better. And incidentally, Denver isn't going to go under either. Now, what it is that people are seeing, usually when they come up with that negative destruction, they are seeing something negative that is going to happen in their own life, and they've misinterpreted it. There was a lady in San Francisco who saw San Francisco dropping into the ocean and in the bay on Good Friday, many, many years ago when we still lived in Sacramento. We drove down to San Francisco to watch the show because I knew it wasn't going to happen. The lady moved to the state of Washington and died at midnight on Good Friday. She was seeing her own death, not the destruction of San Francisco. But as we drove down from Sacramento to San Francisco, guess what? The cars were bumper to bumper from San Francisco going to Lake Tahoe. And we had that town to ourselves. The restaurants we had were the waiters who were afraid they'd get fired if they left town, waited on us, and it was a delightful day. Now, going into the future, your future is what you create. So we developed a process based on this pattern of the Star of David, or the Signet of David, or the Seal of Solomon, or the six-pointed star. And the people are two trinities, and if you get 900% in one trinity, think what you're going to be able to get in power with two trinities intermingled of people who know what they're doing. And you can go forward and see your own future incarnations. But if you don't like what it is you program for that, you can change it from the here and the now. I'm going to show you in a minute how. Now, when you move from here, you go up to number 11, which is physical mastery. And again, a lot of you have talked about that at this particular conference. It's getting your physical body back into shape. It's the only suit of clothes you've got in this lifetime. So let's get it into shape so you can learn to manifest your future lives and start doing some of the things you were going to do in 2600 AD or 3200 AD in the present life. Because half of what I teach is you can move forward into new incarnations in this body in this lifetime, and you don't have to die to do it. You get reborn in the right way, and you add to your skills. You have to correct the physical body. Then you move over to, oh, by the way, that's Pisces. Then you move over to Scorpio, which is mental mastery, which is number 33. And then you ask that all of the knowledge that you're going to need comes to you. That's when you come to a conference like this and pick up all those extra little pieces of the puzzle. You pick up the other information you need for your projects. And you hear new things that get you on a whole new study course. And as you evolve your mind, your head will grow. Your brain will convolute, and you'll get smarter. And then over here, you notice I wrote H2O up there. I tried to write water, and there wasn't enough room. So I wrote H2O is Cancer, and I've written up here at the top, ruled by Mr. Spock, Vulcan. This is the way out to become objective instead of subjective, to stop taking things personally, to start working with other people, to network, to exchange information. That's what these conferences are about. And the more you work together with other people, the faster you will move on the spiritual path. And that's the truth. Now over here, I have put a drawing at the top, which is your time track, a Mobius strip, figure 8 laying on its side. The little black X up there is your present life. If instead of going backwards on it into past lives under hypnosis, you will meditate and raise to a higher level of consciousness, you will go forward over your past lives, starting with the first one, and that's how I find out what people's origin is. Now, the reason I lecture at the UFO conference back in September, and I'm going to do it again in this next September down in Phoenix, is because I found out that most of the 47,000 plus people I have read for are not from planet Earth. There are a few Earthlings around, but they don't come to me for readings. We can tell where you're from by the color of your etheric body. I can also tell people not only where they were from, the name of the planet, what they look like, and what was the purpose they came down here to planet Terra to help us. And then as we move around the time track, we then have what we call a full swing that we can run back and forth on our time track with as much ease as possible, and you have no secrets from yourself. Then you raise to a level of consciousness where you move into the middle, which is called the now. And from that point, wide awake, even without sitting in a Trinity, you can pick up all of your past lives, all of your future lives, and know who you really are. Know who you're going to be, and create anything additional that you want to accomplish. And you can do them all, it is my belief, in this body, in this lifetime. Then you come back because you want to, but ladies and gentlemen, not because you have to. And to me, that's the greatest treasure I can offer people, is to show them how to do that. And this is what we're going to do on Monday, is to take you through a very quick total sketch of what I have put on the board and give you the chance to carry home with you the manual that tells you how to do it, so you can share it with your friends, your neighbors, your kids, your parents, and the people you work with, and the people you love. Because it is my job to pass on this process so we can all speed up on the spiritual path, and one of these days we'll come back as a Sai Baba. Thank you.